People living in a Berkeley homeless encampment say they were blindsided by bulldozers this morning.
And they were like, you need to get out, you have 20 minutes to leave.
We'll hear from residents about their early morning wake-up call. The battle over a camp the city says has been a problem for years.
I feel like highway robbery is happening right now.
Plus, for the second day in a row, ICE agents make arrests in San Jose. The latest activity prompting the closure of a grocery store.
That's ridiculous, it's unlawful, and I think it's abhorrent.
How the community is reacting and the response from ICE. And a creative way to fill empty office space.
This is a brand new idea that we brought to life here in the Bay Area for the first time.
We'll meet an entrepreneur making art out of high-end meals and how it could help a downtown rebound. And later, pennies are going out of print. So what do you do?
Yeah. I think it's Alcatraz in the background.
If pinching pennies is literally your business model.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a community coming together in support of a Livermore man who was detained by immigration officials last week. So let's take a look at live pictures. These are people, they are setting up for a rally that is expected to begin in just a few minutes. They're gathering right now at Livermore Plaza to draw attention to the case of Miguel Angel Lopez. He was detained on May 27th, this during a routine check-in appointment at San Francisco's immigration court. He's now being held at a deportation center that's about 30 miles outside of Bakersfield. According to a fundraising page set up for him, Lopez has lived in the Livermore area for the past 27 years, is a married father of 3, and works at a local winery. We just spoke to his wife, who is holding on to hope that their efforts will bring him home.
I tell him, you know, we're going to do what we can, and I bring tears to his eyes. And I told him I'm not going to give up. We're just trying to raise our voice and see if my husband's case will be heard so he can get an opportunity to be here in the U.S. He's not a bad person.
We will continue to keep an eye on this story and have another live report at 7 o'clock. In San Jose, ICE activity behind a neighborhood grocery store had a community on edge this morning. Witnesses near the Chavez supermarket on Blossom Hill Road say that at least one person was detained this morning, and just yesterday, 4 other people were detained nearby. One local pastor alleges that ICE is detaining people who are taking legal steps to challenge their deportation.
They talked to folks today to have them come in just for a regular kind of checkup when nothing was really scheduled, and then when they got here, they took them. That's under false pretenses. That's ridiculous, it's unlawful, and I think it's abhorrent.
Well, we reached out to ICE about the last 2 days of activity in San Jose. A spokesperson sent us a statement saying, quote, those arrested had excusable final orders of removal by an immigration judge and had not complied with that order. Also, a big cleanup effort underway in San Mateo after a massive tree fell and it smashed several parked cars outside of a nursery. Police telling us one person was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. So our chopper was over the scene earlier today. You get a pretty good idea just how huge the tree is. This at South Railroad and 9th Avenues. It's blocking the street. Crushed cars toppled onto the nursery. There's several fire crews in between the branches just searching around the damage. We saw one firefighter with a chainsaw near this blue car. One witness says she saw someone getting pulled out of the car. It's unclear which one. Again, people are being asked to stay away from that area of South Railroad and 9th Avenues. No word yet when the road will reopen. On to other news now. They say they never saw it coming. A group of homeless people in West Berkeley were awakened this morning by a swarm of police and city workers arriving to clear out a long-standing encampment. We're talking about the area surrounding 8th and Harrison Streets. It's a few blocks away from UC Berkeley's University Village housing. A sweep there a couple years ago prompted a legal battle that is still playing out. Our John Remus spoke to advocates who say today's surprise sweep is a reflection of the changing attitudes about the homeless.
The sweep began about 6 o'clock in the morning, and the people living in the encampment say it came as a complete surprise to them.
We got no notice. There was no paper notice that we got. There was like dozens of police. Like they were all shaking people's tents, shaking the fences, and they were like, you need to get out, you have 20 minutes to leave.
And I wasn't given any notice, so I feel like highway robbery is happening right now. There's no one offering any services. The city will not talk to me. The city won't talk to any of us.
The sweep may have happened quickly, but it was a long time in the making. The tent encampment along 8th and Harrison Streets in Berkeley had been there for years and can be seen in the Google Maps satellite picture. Jessica Prado sued the city in 2023 to keep the camp from closing down, and as recently as last week got a court hearing scheduled for June 10th.
To determine whether the encampment can remain or not. And the fact that they came before that date is like, okay, I guess they don't care what the court says, or yeah, we just don't know what's going on here.
The city says the encampment has been a major problem, with 20% of their homeless efforts being focused around that one intersection. It's been cleaned up before, but quickly returned with little the city could do about it. Then, the Supreme Court handed down its Grants Pass ruling, saying cities can enforce no camping orders, even if they don't have a housing alternative. Homeless advocate Ian Cordova Morales says that changed everything.
It's become lawless. They've become lawless, the police and the city and everyone. They're just not following any of the old protocol. They're not giving notice. They're arresting people. They're doing whatever they want now. They've taken what the Supreme Court said about their abilities to arrest people, and they've just gone full bore.
No one would go on camera today, but when asked if any notice had been given, the spokesperson for the city said the campers had been told in January that they could not stay there. When pressed, he admitted that no notice had been given about the morning's cleanup operation. It seems the public is losing its compassion for the unhoused.
We are seeing just a lot more people complaining about homelessness, a lot more communities kind of getting together and advocating against homeless encampments being in their area. And generally, people are demanding that sweeps happen now rather than people get connected with services. And it's made everything that we're doing a lot harder.
And of course, the get tough attitude still doesn't answer that nagging question.
Where do they go? I don't know. The message Berkeley is saying, don't go to Berkeley. So.
Do you think that's what Berkeley's hoping for?
Berkeley wants them to leave town, absolutely. The message is get out of town. If there's nowhere for people to go, I don't know where they expect them to go. I guess go to jail, I guess, you know, or to your grave. I don't know.
Where do they go? It's a question that has plagued cities since people began pitching tents on the sidewalks. And there don't seem to be any answers coming from the Supreme Court on that one.
The spokesperson says there are about 400 homeless people living on the streets of Berkeley on any given night, and no encampment has received more attention from the city than the one at 8th and Harrison. In San Jose, some city labor unions and business leaders are backing Mayor Matt Mahan's plan to arrest unhoused people who refuse multiple offers of shelter. The initiative is a core piece of his June budget message, which goes in front of the city council next week. The president of Japantown's Business Association recounted several harrowing experiences with people who are unhoused, saying her family is just running out of reasons to stay in San Jose.
On Christmas morning in 2014, in my front yard, on this very street, my husband and I stopped the attempted rape of a jogger by an unhoused Oregonian with untreated schizophrenia.
The mayor originally proposed arresting people who refused shelter 3 times within 18 months, but today said each person's situation should be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. He is proposing the city create a new outreach team to track encounters with the unhoused and then potentially refer cases to police. Turning to the downtown rebound, commercial real estate companies still struggling to find tenants in downtown San Francisco. The city's office vacancy rate in the first quarter of this year was just under 36%. Now, that is a slight improvement, but still close to last year's record highs. It's clearly not enough, though, to simply offer a standard storefront lease. Kenny Choi shows us how some creative minds are finding new ways to reinvent retail and the downtown core.
At One Market Plaza, just across from the Ferry Building, the Radiant Table is nearing the end of its 6-week run, offering an alternative type of dining experience.
When a guest comes in, they're sort of transported into this alternate realm where they're meeting their favorite chefs, but they're also experiencing their food in a way that they've never been able to do so before.
Sam Minkoff is founder of SC Productions. When the opportunity arose, he and his wife went to work quickly, building tables, setting up projectors, and transforming a co-working space cafe on the first floor in just 1 week into a colorful, immersive culinary experience.
The visuals on the table are meant to really complement the chef's meal, and the chefs design their meals around the visuals and vice versa.
In exchange for prime retail space that would normally cost tens of thousands a month, Minkoff and his team are showing how empty spaces can be used to attract permanent tenants. Once treasured pieces of downtown property worth hundreds of millions have sold for a fraction of what they were worth pre-pandemic. That's why Michael Seiler, the founder of Collective Impact, a strategy firm, isn't leasing prime commercial real estate to just any business. He's looking for visionaries, artists, and entrepreneurs who can offer a different kind of product.
If you can empower those arts, culture, and community leaders to activate the empty retail space, you immediately give them what they need to flourish, to grow, to get more people together, to grow opportunities for community and commerce, and that's what building owners want.
It's offerings like this, pop-up vendors, art galleries with wine and clay-making classes, and expos during SF Climate Week, for example, that Seiler sees as a way to create a hub for community and commerce.
The narrative isn't out yet that San Francisco is back. It's vibrant. There are communities churning out their next version of what San Francisco will be.
It's a vision of the future that inspires creators and entrepreneurs like Minkoff.
Our business specializes in different food and beverage festivals and concepts, but this is a brand new idea that we brought to life here in the Bay Area for the first time.
Bringing people to the table, connecting them with community, and hoping others will want to come back to a thriving downtown.
All right, by the way, if you want to book a Radiant table, there are only 2 nights left before they take the show up to Seattle area. They still have some reservations available tomorrow and Friday. You can find that info on our website, KPIX.com. All right, still ahead here at 6, the effort to slash benefits for rooftop solar owners clears a major hurdle in Sacramento. Plus, we'll meet a Bay Area man who's having to make some major changes for a business that relies on change.
If it was just for the money, I would not do it.
How he's adapting to the order to stop printing pennies nationwide. And later, a new era for Nintendo. Oh yeah, a look at all the hype around the Bay Area ahead of the new system launch. A bill that would change the rules for homeowners with solar panels has passed the state assembly and is now headed to the Senate. The assembly passed the bill last night. Under current law, if you have solar on your house and you sell it, the new owners get to keep your solar incentives. The new bill would change that, and the home buyer would be paid less for the energy their panels generate. The home buyers would receive a rate set by the California Public Utilities Commission in 2022. That rate is also the center of a lawsuit before the California Supreme Court today. 3 environmental groups sued the CPUC, claiming it cut rates by 75%, hurting the solar industry. The commission argued it had to cut the rates to make up for what it calls a rate shift, where people without solar are paying more to subsidize solar users. They say a penny saved is a penny earned, but pretty soon there won't be any new pennies at all. President Trump just ordered the U.S. Mint to stop printing them. And that means big changes for one Bay Area man who makes his living off change. You've probably seen his souvenir machines around. Kara St. Cyr shows us how he's planning to adapt to a penniless world.
This is just my change belt, so.
For Matt, dollars have never made sense.
For quarters and for pennies.
But his coins do, specifically the penny. He uses them to operate more than 50 penny pressing machines throughout the Bay Area, the most popular being right here on Pier 39.
But you put 2 quarters and a penny in there. And once this little wheel over here is about to hit this thing.
People pay 51 cents for this machine to press pictures of tourist attractions into stretched pennies.
It's going to drop the penny. There you go. Crab.
But soon, finding pennies to use might be more pressing than the machine. The U.S. Mint confirmed last week that they've ordered their last copper stock to make the U.S. penny. The copper coin costs more to make than it's actually worth. The U.S. spends about 4 cents for every penny, which is only valued at 1 cent. You do the math. The move is expected to save the U.S. $56 million a year, but it'll cost Matt dearly. He makes 10 to 15K on this business annually.
There you go. The other part of this whole thing, besides like the pennies, is the quarters. So like, it's a bigger conversation, but essentially, since people don't really use cash anymore, banks don't really feel obliged to offer those services anymore, like giving you large amounts of quarters or taking large amounts of change or cash. So you can no longer get large amounts of quarters from the bank, even if you're a business like Musée Mécanique right over here, or Free Gold Watch, or Detour on Market Street are all coin-op run arcades, and they can't just go to the bank and get quarters. So they come to me, because I have the quarters.
He says he plans to buy copper blanks to make up for pennies he'll lose.
If it was just for the money, I would not do it.
But business aside, moving away from the penny represents a break with tradition, something Matt doesn't know if he's ready to embrace yet.
These are like the last pennies ever, like new ones.
Penny production will stop in 2026, forever changing the landscape of the coin-operated world Matt loves. He'll keep using them until the coin falls out of circulation.
I think it's Alcatraz in the background.
For now, it just makes sense.
All right.
Does make sense. Interestingly enough, pennies aren't the only problem. Nickels also cost more to mint than they're worth, so we'll see how long those stick around. If you have any loose change lying around, financial advisors recommend checking with your bank to see if you can exchange it for cash. You got some coins in there.
I don't remember the last time I had actual coins in my pocket.
Really?
Yeah. It's just to say. This is the view, or the lack thereof, from Salesforce Tower. The fog has swallowed it up. Before that fog rolled in, though, temperature did climb up to the mid-60s in the city, which is pretty close to normal for this time of year. Their average June day, with at least a few more to come. Details coming up in the First Alert forecast.
Well, while we're enjoying sunny skies and some warm temps this early June, other areas in California aren't so lucky. Check out this early storm. This is in Palm Springs, complete with lightning and thunder. It's pretty rare for the area, barely received any precipitation at all this time of year. So I'm going to ask the weatherman, our meteorologist, Paul Hagan, what is going on?
All that stayed down to our south. If this was January or February, we would have kind of stolen some of that moisture. We'd
Why
see
are they
some showers.
getting that they normally don't?
There's just a little storm system off the coast of Southern California spinning around. It was too far away to send any of that towards us. So we just have been staying in this typical June pattern. And now they're drying out too. But they had over 10,000 lightning strikes in the course of those thunderstorms. That's a lot for any time of year. Let's take a look at what we expect closer to the Bay Area as we head through the next few days. Again, here's that look outside from Salesforce Tower. The First Alert forecast is looking pretty good overall. We'll switch perspectives and look at San Jose, where that haze on the horizon is still there. But once again, air quality at ground level is fine. No worries about that. Any smoke drifting down from Canada, first of all, hasn't been that concentrated in our skies to begin with, and it's not going to settle down to ground level. More typical June weather is in store for us, with fog every night and early morning, even a little bit of drizzle along the coast. Not going to be much more than a trace, but maybe enough if you're driving along the coast. We're going to have to fiddle with the intermittent setting on the windshield wipers tomorrow morning. Afternoon sunshine for most of us, with temperatures remaining very close to average levels for early June. Right now, there's that view, a different view of Salesforce Tower. You can see why the camera is fogged in. Temperatures anywhere from 59 degrees in San Francisco to still 78 degrees in Livermore. The warmest spots were east of the Oakland Hills, made it into the 80s in Concord and Livermore this afternoon, while other inland parts of the Bay Area were in the 70s, and Santa Rosa all the way down to 63 degrees already, just 1 degree below that right now in Oakland. As we head through the rest of tonight, temperatures are going to back down as the fog continues to spread out. Again, it's already overtaken much of San Francisco, and it's going to spread across the Bay. Don't think you're going to have a lot of it east of the Oakland Hills, but widespread fog in the North Bay valleys and a decent amount of fog in the Santa Clara Valley. But it dissipates quickly once the sun comes up. Within a couple hours of sunrise, we're going to see that fog retreating to around the bay, and it should make it back to along the coast as we head towards the late morning, maybe lunchtime, and a little bit of sunshine peeking through along the coast as well. High temperatures tomorrow Once again, very similar to where they've been the past few days. I think it'd be a few degrees warmer in the Santa Clara Valley, low 80s there, with low to mid 80s east of the Oakland Hills. It's warm, but it's normally warm for this time of year. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s in San Francisco and Oakland, but 80 degrees in Fremont, also 80 for Redwood City as that southwesterly onshore breeze gets blocked by the higher elevations of the peninsula. On the coast, low to mid 60s, exactly where you're supposed to be in early June. Cooler for the North Bay again. High temperature in Santa Rosa was only 73 today. You'll be at about that level again tomorrow because that southwesterly wind is more effective at infiltrating the North Bay valleys as opposed to a straight westerly wind. Let's take a look at the dog walking forecast for tomorrow, which is brought to you by an adoptable pup from the East County Animal Shelter. This is Sierra, who we don't know about her singing voice, but she definitely has a celebrity-worthy smile there. Temperatures are going to be at their warmest again east of the Oakland Hills, close to 80 degrees for a high in Dublin, which is a little warm for that dark fur, but I'm sure she'll be happy to spend some outside time with any prospective forever families. I'll put up a link to her adoptable information right after this weathercast. The wind will continue to be a factor, that onshore breeze keeping air quality good and keeping temperatures close to average. Some of the strongest gusts along the coast and through the Delta, topping 30 miles an hour during the afternoons for the next couple of days. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast, and we will start inland. Not a whole lot of change until we hit the middle of next week. Temperatures will dip slightly by next Tuesday, but then they bounce right back up into the low 80s on Wednesday. All in all, pretty much everybody's temperatures are going to be within about 3 degrees on either side of what is average for early to even mid-June. And in the long-range data, there's no significant changes on the way, even as we look towards the midpoint of the month and even beyond that. So bayside temperatures running generally in the low 70s, with temperatures along the coast running in the low 60s. But the warmest days line up with the weekend, all the way up to 65 degrees along the coast on Saturday, with a little bit more sunshine breaking through that low cloud cover and fog. We'll keep you updated as we get a little bit closer to the weekend.
All right. Really nice job.
Thank
Solid.
you. You're paying so much attention.
Solid job. Okay, thank you. I was. All right, when we come back, we're going to check in with die-hard Nintendo fans hoping to get their hands on the Switch 2 the moment it launches. Also, here's a look at what's ahead on the CBS Evening News.
I'm Jill Schlesinger in New York. Economic uncertainties are making some Americans feel uneasy as they approach retirement. That's tonight's Eye on America.
The Valkyries are back in action tomorrow on our sister station KPIX. Plus, you can watch Golden State try to snap a 3-game losing streak when they take on the Phoenix Mercury. Coverage starts at 6:30 on Channel 44, Cable 12. All right, die-hard Nintendo fans, they are lining up this evening at the new Union Square store. All a chance to see the new Switch 2 console in action before it's released to the public tomorrow. People have been out there for hours at this point to be part of what Nintendo is calling a pre-celebration event where they got their first hands-on experience with the Switch 2. Luckily, and no surprise, most of them had a Game Boy or two to keep them occupied beforehand. The fact that they aren't able to actually buy a Switch 2 yet didn't really seem to bother anyone.
We're just devoted fans. We love Nintendo so much, and I love Nintendo so much. It's a great representation of happiness and pure joy.
Anything for Nintendo.
Anything.
Anything for Nintendo.
There you go. Meantime, Best Buy stores up and down the West Coast are all reopening tonight at 9 to start selling the system. We found some people in line in Pleasant Hill. Tonight is only for pre-order pickups. Everyone else can start or at least try to get the $500 console first thing tomorrow morning. All right. CBS Evening News with Maurice Dubois and John Dickerson is next on KPIX. We have local news always on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. We're back right here in 30 minutes with CBS News Bay Area at 7 o'clock. See you then.